Robert Cruz, Vice President of Terrorism and Global Response for Hiscox USA, knows a thing or two about war, terrorism, and political violence. And he says when it comes to those subjects, the best thing that policyholders can do is to know their policies.
The issue here is in the Middle East, in Egypt, in Tunisia, in Libya, or what was known as the Arab Spring of this year, there's been many revolutions. And we've actually had clients that have had insurable assets over there. And we want to make sure that clients know that what's happening over in those countries are not terrorism events. Those are actually political violence events, where you have an uprising of the people there who want to change their government through use of force or through protests. And if you see in Tunisia, it was kind of a mixture of both. In Egypt, it was through protests. And in Libya, it was a full-on civil war. So what I make sure I do is educate my brokers. When a broker shows me an account that has exposures in the Middle East or even in Europe, I say, have you thought about the expanded perils? Not just terrorism, war, terrorism, political violence. Because that covers insurrection, coup d'etat, mutiny, revolution. And you could easily have, a business could be doing business in one of those countries and find their shops looted. And they say, hey, I have terrorism coverage. Well, really, that wasn't a terrorism event. What happened there was a revolution. And we have coverage on that. You didn't buy that cover. So what's key is companies that have international schedules need to make sure they're buying the right cover. Again, war, terrorism, political violence. In the United States, terrorism is what you really got to worry about on an international basis. Even in Mexico, what's going on with the drug cartels and so on. They're damaging U.S. businesses over there. That could be terrorism, or it could be political violence. So again, I make sure brokers are educated, say, you want to make sure you're buying the right cover.
There may be a fine line between terrorism and political violence, but what matters is what's in the policy.
With TRIA, with a property policy, property carriers are required by law to offer an embedded terrorism quote. And the law doesn't state what the cost of that has to be, but they are required to offer it. In some cases, property carriers will offer it at a great price. They'll offer it at a realistic price, and sometimes they don't want terrorism on their books at all, and they'll offer it at a super high price. So that's usually the first option for people to get their terrorism insurance. And then you have the secondary market, which is the standalone market. In some cases, the embedded terrorism just doesn't work for an insured, especially if they're in a high-risk area, a major city in the United States, or international. And if they have an international exposure, that's something that really will come to us, because TRIA does not insure U.S. assets or U.S. Company overseas. So you have your embedded, then you have your standalone. And depending on the broker really needs to talk with the insured to figure out where their needs are best served, in the standalone market or in the embedded market.